Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a topic that really sits at the intersection of technology and, well, human connection at work.
It really does.
We're looking at sentiment analysis, SA for short, and specifically how this AI is being used to read between the lines of one-on-one meeting notes.
That's a huge shift. For so long, management has been all about intuition,
Yeah,
gut feeling.
the art of management.
Exactly, the art. But our sources are making it clear that in today's environment, you just can't afford to guess anymore. You need data, objective data.
Right. And so our mission for this depth dive is to pull out the most valuable nuggets on how this technology, which is all based on natural language processing, how it's giving managers insights that, frankly, we as humans just miss.
So maybe let's start with a really basic definition. What are we actually talking about with sentiment analysis?
Good idea.
It's a type of NLP that doesn't just process words. It figures out the emotional tone behind them.
So it's an emotion decoder.
That's a great way to put it. It basically reads a piece of text and classifies it. Is this positive? Is it negative? Or is it just neutral?
And the big benefit here is objectivity, right?
Yeah.
It takes the manager's personal bias out of the equation.
Completely. I mean, we all have confirmation bias. If you think an employee is a star, you might just not hear their subtle complaints.
But the algorithm hears everything.
It hears everything and it quantifies it. It can tag phrases with things like, dissatisfaction, anxiety, or even excitement.
It provides the hard data to back up the soft skills.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, so let's jump into our first segment on proactive management. The sources really emphasize that this isn't about one single meeting.
No, not at all. It's about the trend.
Tracking sentiment over time.
Right. Because look, a single meeting with a negative score, that could be anything.
Yeah.
A bad morning, traffic, it's just noise.
But if you track it across 5, 6, 7 meetings in a row,
Now you have a trend line. You have a signal.
and if that line starts to dip, say, from neutral down into negative over a few months,
That is a huge red flag. It tells you a problem is brewing long before that employee comes to you with a resignation letter.
so it's about being proactive. You can step in when you first see the dip, not when the person's already checked out.
Yes. And it works the other way too, which is something I found fascinating.
The positive side.
The positive side, if you try a new coaching technique and you see the employee's sentiment score jump up consistently,
That's proof. It's proof that what you're doing is actually working.
it is. And for a large company, you can then take that successful technique and scale it. You can spot patterns across whole departments.
Oh, that's interesting. So if a new policy rolls out and 3 different teams suddenly show a huge dip in morale,
You know immediately that there's a problem with the policy, or at least with how it was communicated.
that's the big picture. But let's zoom back in on the individual. The sources call this an early warning system.
It is. I mean,
Right.
think about a typical one-on-one. The manager's often distracted, right? They're thinking about their next question, checking the time.
And the employee might be trying to be polite. They don't want to complain directly.
So they use careful language, hedged language. And a human manager can easily miss the real meaning.
But the algorithm is just looking at the words.
Just the words and the patterns. It
Hmm.
flags phrases that suggest someone is feeling, overwhelmed or unsupported.
What's a classic example of that?
The sources gave a great one. An employee says something like, "I'm not sure if I can handle this project, but I'll try my best."
Okay, and the busy manager heaves.
The manager hears, "I'll try my best." They check a box in their head. Project accepted. Move on.
But the AI flags the first part.
Exactly. It flags, "I'm not sure I can handle this." And it tags that with a negative score. Anxiety, self-doubt.
And that flag tells the manager, hey, follow up on this.
Yes. Intervene now. Offer some coaching. Check in on their confidence. Maybe give them some more resources. Don't wait for the project to go off the rails.
It shifts the manager from being reactive to anticipatory.
That's the whole value proposition right there.
Okay, let's get into our second segment then. How are companies using these insights for things like development and well-being?
This work is really strategic.
Hmm.
It's about personalizing employee development.
Moving beyond the generic annual review.
Way beyond. I mean, a standard review might say, John needs to be more proactive.
Right. Vague feedback.
Super vague. But what if the sentiment data from John's one-on-ones consistently shows he expresses anxiety whenever new challenges come up?
Then telling him to be more proactive is probably the worst thing you could do.
It's completely counterproductive.
Yeah.
The data tells you the root cause isn't a lack of desire, it's a lack of confidence.
So the development plan should be about building confidence, small wins, positive reinforcement.
Exactly. You're addressing the actual emotional barrier, not just the symptom.
And I guess if the data showed frustration instead of anxiety.
Then the response is different. Maybe they feel overwhelmed. The solution isn't more training, it's adjusting their workload.
It seems like it would also really help with communication and trust, which feels a little counterintuitive, using an AI to build trust.
I know it sounds strange, right? But the analysis isn't just on the employee. It can reflect on the manager, too.
How so?
Well, if a manager's direct reports all consistently have sentiment scores showing confusion or frustration after their meetings,
The problem might not be the employees.
the problem is probably the manager's communication style. The data makes that pattern visible.
That is powerful. It's like a mirror for the manager.
It forces them to slow down and really listen, not just for the project updates, but for the emotion underneath. And that ultimately builds trust.
Okay, and the final piece here is a big one. Burnout.
A huge one. And it's so insidious, it creeps up on people.
But SA can spot the early signs.
Long before anyone would think to raise a red flag, it looks for patterns of negative emotion over time. Fatigue, anxiety, hopelessness.
What kind of language would trigger that?
Things like an employee consistently using words like draining or exhausted, or if they start saying, I'm just barely keeping up week after week.
Things a manager might dismiss as just normal office chatter.
Exactly. But when you aggregate that language over 2 months, the algorithm sees a clear downward trend. It sees a data point that says risk of burnout.
And that gives the manager the evidence they need to step in.
And offer real support, adjusting workloads, pointing them to mental health resources. It's about using objective diagnosis to enable a very sensitive, very human response.
This all sounds incredibly powerful, but this is where we have to pump the brakes a little, right?
We absolutely do.
Let's talk about the challenges and the ethics, because this is where it gets messy. First up, accuracy.
Yes. This is so important. Sentiment analysis is not a mind reader. It's not 100% accurate.
It makes mistakes.
It makes mistakes,
That's
especially
right.
with things like sarcasm.
Oh, yeah. If I say, oh, another weekend project, that's just brilliant.
The algorithm might just see the word brilliant and score it as positive. It completely misses the context, the irony.
A human eye roll.
It misses the eye roll entirely. So the takeaway has to be that human oversight is essential. This is a tool to augment a manager's judgment, not replace it.
You can't just manage by the numbers.
If you do that, you've already failed.
Which leads right into the next big issue, privacy and transparency.
The elephant in the room. How do employees feel knowing an AI is scoring their private conversations?
I mean, it can feel a little Big Brother, like you're being secretly graded on your attitude.
It can, which is why organizations have to be radically transparent about it. They have to explain how it's being used and, more importantly, why it's being used.
The why is key, isn't it? Is this to help me or is it to police me?
That's the fundamental question. And how the data is used matters.
Yeah.
Is HR looking at aggregated anonymous data to spot big picture trends?
That feels more acceptable.
It's much easier to get buy-in for that. But if I know my manager is seeing a specific anxiety score for me after every single meeting,
It changes how I talk to them.
it changes everything.
Yeah.
You start filtering yourself. You stop being vulnerable. You only use positive, safe language.
And then the whole system breaks down. The tool's value was in getting honest signals,
And now you've incentivized dishonesty. The tool becomes useless.
which really drives home that final warning from the sources about responsible use. You cannot make decisions based only on a sentiment score.
Never. Emotions are fluid. A score is just a snapshot of a single moment in a very complex situation.
It should be the start of a conversation, not the end of one.
A prompt. A reason to ask a better follow-up question. That's its proper role.
So when we pull this all together, where do we land?
I mean, it's clear that sentiment analysis is going to be a huge part of the people management toolkit going forward. It's too powerful to ignore.
It gives managers data where before there was just guesswork.
Exactly. It helps them spot trends, find coaching moments, and just be more attuned to what's really going on with their team.
But it comes with some serious responsibility.
Very serious. It forces managers to be better listeners and more ethical leaders.
So let's end with a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on.
Based on everything we've talked about, with trust and transparency being so critical, here's the question. If the whole goal of this technology is to build trust and create a safer, more open environment, what happens to that psychological safety when everyone knows their emotional tone is being constantly measured and quantified?
When you know you're being graded on your authenticity. Can you ever truly be authentic?
That's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
A perfect place to leave it. We'll be diving deep again next time. Until then, keep digging.